Joining us on The Informer is Rod Barton, who's the member for the Eastern Metropolitan Region in the Legislative Council in the Victorian Parliament. I think you were elected to Parliament back in 2018. Rod, welcome to The Informer.
Thank you very much, George. Thank you. And yes, we're 2018. I come to Parliament at 60 years of age.
Well, that only means one thing to me. It means you've had a life of understanding how business works and how tough life can be outside Parliament. And I actually think it's a terrific perspective. And I wish more of our politicians and parliamentarians followed that route. In other words, did what they had to do, discovered what they needed to discover in order to be able to answer some of the challenges when they get into Parliament. Now, you jumped on board and your party is the Transport Matters Party. And yep. I suppose it follows. Let's go back and do a little bit of storytelling about Rod Barton. Sure. Taxis were a part of your life, limos, the hire car industry. You did that for about a quarter of a century before you thought yep. It was time for a change. What was the change that you wanted, Rod?
It wasn't a choice, George. It was driven by anger and frustration with the deregulation of the taxi and hire car industry. I'm not Robinson Crusoe here, but many people lost their homes and life savings and superannuation, and we were absolutely filthy with this Andrews Labor government.
So you basically took that anger and you said to yourself, look, we need to do something. And you saw the arrival of that disruptor we now know as Uber, and you thought, I can't sit here. I've got to put my hand up, and you went for it. And you've ended up on the crossbenches. And I suppose that's where you try and do what you can. And I noticed that your party, I suppose, where do you pitch yourself? Is it centre left, centre right? Where are you today?
Well, depends on the subject, George. But if you some people in my office actually call me the Bernie Sanders of Victorian pop. But I'm probably centre left.
Now let's talk about your core focus, and it is transport, isn't it?
Yep. Absolutely.
But you also do spend some time championing environmental issues. And of course, the most important one for us, small business. We've tried to be the voice of small business over the last year. And I think during this COVID lockdown and this extension of the COVID lockdown, it's hurting small business like never before.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's absolutely huge, George. I'm sitting on the Environment and Infrastructure Committee, and we're actually doing an inquiry into the impacts on the events industry. And it is heartbreaking when you have companies with 10 people in it, and they've had to sack 9, and they just can't survive. They can't plan events. They can't get insurance for events. It is just awful.
Well, we have first-hand knowledge. Of course, I've been in the events industry and the media industry for the better part of 40 years. So I know very well what it means when they ring you up and they say, mate, we have to cancel the booking, or we can't bring you across because of the restrictions or the impositions. And it's a huge challenge. And in fact, we got some correspondence this morning and again last night from small businesses, both regional and metropolitan, saying, can you do something? If you're going to take up that fight for small business, can you make a bit more noise? And that's what we're trying to do. And that's why Rod Barton was the person we've gone to. Now, you've put your hand up and you believe in a number of key projects that need to get up, things like the East-West Link, the North-East Link, the Westgate Tunnel, the suburban rail loop. And the part that I like is the one that you're pushing also for a fully publicly owned Melbourne Airport rail line, which has got to come. But what can we do, and what do you believe the state government and the federal government can do for small business right now? Because after yesterday, we've found out we're going to extend this lockdown. The government has decided to use this blunt instrument for a further 7 days, and then we still don't know.
No, that's true. Look, it's nobody's fault in small business that this has had to come, right? It's not their fault, right? And as a community then, I say, is that the state government and the federal government need to help prop them up. I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's pleasing that the State Treasurer Palace, he doubled the size of the support package. He's now taken it out to $400 something million. And there is an expectation that the federal government needs to kick in too. They can't leave Victoria hanging in its hour of need.
No, that's 100%, especially when you consider the Treasurer is a Victorian.
Politically, it'd be very silly for him not to throw some money in here.
But on the subject of the lockdown, did you see it coming, Rod, from your position?
No, look, we don't get any inside information of this coming. We thought they were optimistic when they announced a 7-day, because we've never had a 7-day lockdown previously. We've always been told it's been 14 days. We need to get through the cycle and everything. But we have had some information just recently, so that things are looking better.
Rod, can I ask you a question? You're in the crossbenches, right?
Yep.
How do you feel when you see the rest of Australia coping and doing what they can, and Victoria every few months seems to be like clockwork having to close down, lock down, and force its citizens to stay in their homes? What have you made of that? Are we doing something? Is it the weather here that makes COVID more conducive? What in heaven's name is going on? Why can't we get on top of it?
Well, wish we had a crystal ball, George. It's look, this last lockdown, it's been bad luck. We inherited it from another state, and it's not making excuses. It's just a fact, right? Just a fact. And it was able to spread through the community before we had a chance to really get onto it. And it seems to be that they're getting on top of it now, and we should be looking good at the end of this second 7-day period. But you're absolutely right. I mean, in the early days, it was really like it was a bit like trying to catch a greasy pig when you got bow legs, right? That they thought you got hold of it and the bloody thing get away from you and all that sort of stuff. And clearly there was mistakes made and how we were handling contact tracing and other stuff. But over a period of time, we've got better at it, and we've got a bit of a monster at the moment that they're trying to run down. And yeah, no, it is frustrating, and it's interesting that New South Wales been able to do localised lockdowns, but we go for the big sledgehammer across the whole state.
From your position, this is and you've lived it. You understand what small business is all about, and trying to run a business, and continuity is key, and as is surety. What do you say to all the small business people? Is it a case of hang in there, we're doing what we can, or my fingers are crossed and I'm hoping that the door comes open rather than slams down again?
It was really interesting because we had an all-day hearing on Wednesday with small businesses and some larger businesses, and everybody's frustrated. Everybody said, no, we shouldn't have lockdowns. But when we kind of say, do you want to go the other track and so let it rip and let us be like the UK or South Africa, Italy, the US, do you want it to go like that? Oh, no, we shouldn't really do that. But so it is a very difficult call what we want to do. And it's a balance. But, I think the key thing for us now, George, is really that vaccination is going to help us get out of this. We're a mile behind the rest of the planet in terms of vaccinations, and we've just got to do better.
We might be way behind the rest of the planet in terms of vaccinations, but we are so far in front when it comes to the spread of the coronavirus across the country. We have had a tremendously amazing time. And again, we applaud all the players and all the moves that were made early. But it seems to me that one thing we can't do at the moment is show the rest of Victoria that the Victorian government and others are learning how to cope. This is the thing that bothers me. And you're in there. What in heaven's name are they saying to each other? And why aren't we learning? This is 16 months and we're still saying, guys, just hang in there with us. You remember how much compliance Victoria showed from day one? It was nearly 100%.
Yep, awesome.
Why do you think we're having so much problem now?
Well, I think there's a little bit of navel gazing goes on with all these things, and there's a lot of political arguing going on, and even views within governments themselves. And as you say, 16 months in, we know that hotel quarantine isn't the best way to do it. We know we've got to have purpose. And 16 months on, we're still arguing with the feds whether we should do it or not do it, right? Or where we should do it. That's a no-brainer. That should be happening, and we should have done it a year ago.
I can imagine you must be absolutely over the top in terms of frustration with the aged care minister, the federal aged care minister, Richard Colbeck, and the fact that we still can't, after 12 months, protect our aged care sector. That is pretty shameful stuff, isn't it?
Look, I said it to a member of my team this morning, you know, it's all very well for us to be geniuses in hindsight, but seriously, the vast majority of the deaths in Victoria come out of the aged care sector. This is the sector that the feds were running. Why didn't the first vaccinations and drive this to get everybody vaccinated, particularly the staff working there, and then obviously all the patients there as well. You know, we're talking about it still.
Look, it never ceases to amaze how we can find reasons to not get to the nub of the challenge, and that is to work together to get not only Victorians, but all Australians, and keep them safe, and more importantly, keep them working. I think the challenge also would be with another lockdown. What do you say to Sally Capp and that team in the centre of the city, where they know they need people to come back into the city, and with 14 days of lockdown, what do you think is going to happen? Whatever they were building, whatever momentum they were building, has just gone flat.
Yeah, no, it's heartbreaking, George. Most days when we're sitting in Parliament, we go for a walk down and get lunch around the different places and everything, and it is heartbreaking. Empty shop, empty shop, empty shop. You just kind of think, how do we come back from this?
Look, thank you very much for taking the call and the opportunity to talk about some of the challenges that small businesses facing and others, and also for shooting the breeze. Wish you all the very best on the crossbenches. You have plenty of work to do, my friend.
We do indeed.
Rod Barton has been our guest on The Informer. Thank you, Rod, and all the very best.
Thank you, George. Good on you. See ya.